Welcome back, everybody, to the Game Culture is Dead series, where I talk about how dead the gaming culture is right now. And it's not really dead, just the AAA slop corporate culture is dead. Nobody's buying these games. Nobody cares anymore. It's so bad. But it's good for me, because I get to talk about it, because I was already out on this stuff years ago, man. Years and years ago. And it's just been getting worse and worse and worse, and the cope is getting worse. The shit eaters are coming out of the woodworks to defend all of this. The people who are usually, you know, anti-corporation, the communists, but they do love the shit corporations that pander to their side. And you know what? They can have it. They can all have it. We're just not going to involve ourselves with it. We're just going to look at it and make fun of the fail. This is the biggest scandal in gaming right now. What is it? Tell us about it, Asmongold.
Ubisoft canceled an Assassin's Creed game set in the post-Civil War era. Featured a black assassin who was formerly a slave. Players would have fight to stop the emerging KKK. The leadership canceled it after concerns with the U.S. political climate and Yasuke backlash.
They're only concerned with it because they were going to get it completely wrong. If they would have got it correct, then they would have only received backlash from the violent leftists who weren't going to play anyway. Like, they don't play games. They only play trash, or at least they pretend to play trash. And they are solely behind the crash of the gaming industry right now. The corporate freaks like to pander to them because they're also part of it, because they forced all of the good people out.
Like, I loved Django Unchained. I thought it was a great movie. I've watched it probably 15 times. But the problem is that I trust Quentin Tarantino to tell this story. I don't trust Ubisoft to tell this story. It's going to be patronizing, annoying, and also, I think, another second-order effect.
They would also make the main character black and gay. Now, I don't care if he's black, but they'll make him gay, too, because you can't just have, like, a regular beefed-up black dude as your hero. No, you got to make them gay or effeminate.
The amount of people who have used the term, oh, these people are the KKK, these people are Nazis, you're watering down this term and you're applying it to people that want a better border patrol. And this happened with the Wolfenstein game too. The repeated weaponization of calling people part of that group, and then people feeling like, wait a minute, if there's a video game that's systematically killing these people, and now everybody's calling me part of these people, isn't that basically them saying to kill me? And it is, by the way. All the terms are cooked. It's no meaning whatsoever. Yeah, exactly. I think they probably made the right decision canceling this game. The people that made Expedition 33, they could probably make something like this good. Ubisoft making a game like this good, I'm just not really seeing it.
It was probably a good idea to cancel this one because they're fucking idiots.
Also a subtext of this as well. A subtext of this is that Assassin's Creed Shadows was a massive failure. If it wasn't, why would they be canceling entire games because of something that is about the backlash of Yasuke? Why? Yeah, exactly, right? Why would that be happening?
Yeah, they completely changed Assassin's Creed Shadows, by the way, because of the Yasuke backlash.
Massive fucking failure.
Yep. Huge L. Oh well.
Pirate Nation on X breaking. Ubisoft reportedly axed an Assassin's Creed game set in the post-Civil War Reconstruction era last year.
Last year? Whoa, I thought this was like back in the day. It was last year? I wonder how far along this game was. They probably got to the part where they were introducing the KKK and they realized the historical origins of the KKK were from the Democratic Party in the South. How about that? They can't have that. That doesn't fit the narrative.
A black assassin formerly enslaved in the South
by Democrats,
who heads west. Gameplay included battling the rise of the Ku Klux Klan.
I wish people would stop saying the Ku Klux Klan because it's Ku Klux. But yeah.
Canceled amid U.S. political tensions and backlash over Yasuke and Shadows. And you know what the real kick in the nuts is for this? The more I think about this, the more I'm like, that actually might have been a good idea for a game.
Yeah, like we're all thinking that. We all see that and we're like, This would have been a banger, dude, but they couldn't have done it right. That's why they canceled it, because they're a bunch of lying, manipulative pussies.
I, I can't help but like it was such a bad direction to go with Yasuke and Fuel Japan, where it was obvious DEI insert, the complete ridiculousness of going out of your way to insert a black person into Japan just for the sake of DEI purposes. And then,
yeah, and all the woke people are like, you're all just racist. And normal people are just like, bro, this is a token gay black dude. We all know what you're doing. You've always done it and have always done it throughout history.
Cherry on top. Don't worry, there's another character you can play as. It's a chick. Apparently, she's like a samurai or ninja too, or herself, which there were no women ninjas ever. Like, that wasn't a thing. But don't worry, don't let history get in the way of a good story. When it came to Ubisoft inserting DEI, they went over and above. And now they're dealing with the backlash of making decisions thinking we can't do this again because those chuds are going to go on a cancel campaign for us next time too. It's like, no, that's not how we operate. We operate with logic and common sense where it makes sense. This is
yeah, and they don't operate on that. That's why this whole situation even happened in the first place. Because they're fucking retarded.
Story that would make sense. Why would you get rid of this one?
Because they couldn't do it right. Because they're a bunch of degenerate freaks who couldn't exactly figure out how to make it fit the narrative when the whole thing goes against the narrative.
But this is an exclusive story from Stephen Totillo, who says, Scoop, last year, Ubisoft canceled an Assassin's Creed game set during Reconstruction. Was to feature a black assassin who, among other things, fought the clan's rise.
Yeah, you can't have a black assassin fighting against the Democratic Party.
Sources, leadership nixed it, concerned with U.S. political climate and Yasuke backlash.
That's a lie. It's a complete lie. They just couldn't do it right, so they canceled it. Rightfully so, in my opinion.
He followed this up and said, some have said about Assassin's Creed games that DEI kills art.
Well, here we are. There you go. This could have been perfect. If they would have made this in like 2010, 2012, it would have slapped so hard.
But this might be a case where anti-DEI helped kill art. Much more about the game and context of decisions in the link. Most of the story is paywalled, but you can sample reading it via a free trial. And,
no thanks.
And I replied to Stephen. I said, if I shit on a plate and frame it, would you call that art, Stephen? So this comes to us, exclusive story from GameFile. Stephen Totillo, ex-Kotaku journalist. Scoop.
They canceled the Assassin's Creed anti-Ku Klux Klan game because of right-wing extremists.
Ubisoft
every
canceled
fucking
a
time.
Post-Civil War Assassin's Creed last year. Company leadership deemed the project too controversial for the moment, sources tell GameFile. In July of last year, word began to trickle through Ubisoft that an ambitious new installment of the company's top franchise, Assassin's Creed, had been canceled.
By the way, I heard some Assassin's Creed news that I haven't heard anybody talk about, really. Yeah, right here. Moving forward, the development of Assassin's Creed and Far Cry games is being led by Vantage Studios, a new subsidiary formed by Ubisoft and Tencent. So, like, it's not going to be the same people. It's going to basically be run by China from now on. Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, and what else? Rainbow Six. There we go. It was right there. Yep, there you go. They couldn't handle it. If they were so successful, why'd they have to change the hands of the developers?
The new game would have brought the history-spanning series to one of the most modern settings, the American Civil War, and more so, the Reconstruction period that followed in the 1860s and 1870s. In this Reconstruction era, Assassin's Creed, gamers would play as a black man who had been formerly enslaved in the South, I feel like that could have been such a banger story.
They you know what they could have copied? Literally copied verbatim. They should have done it, man. No, man, missed opportunity. They could have done it.
Like if the story starts out as being enslaved and then like getting out of that, or post-war being freed from it, that would have been a banger story. And moved west to start a new life. Recruited by the series' assassins, he would return to the South to fight for justice in a conflict that would, among other things, see him confront the emergence of the Ku Klux Klan. Again, banger story. Like, this is the problem. When you have idiots running companies that think, oh, black man equals woke, I guess, so cancel all the black people games now because
Because they're fucking retarded. They're racist. They're just pandering. They're actually racist.
those don't sell anymore, because Yasuke got a lot of brushback from the gamers because gamers are just awful people. No, you idiots. Make a good storyline. It doesn't matter who the protagonist is. We've said that from day one. We've always said that. When you go out of your way, you bend over backwards and you have to insert a character into a location that makes no sense for that character.
Anybody ever played Crackdown? Crackdown's fucking awesome. You ever played the Walking Dead games? Lee? Fucking love Lee. What about CJ from San Andreas? How about Franklin from GTA 5? Sheva from Resident Evil 5. We got, let's see, Coltrane from Gears of War. I can keep going, man. I can just keep listing them off the top of my head. The guy from Mafia 3, I'm pretty sure, was it Mafia 3? Pretty sure he was mixed. I'm like, what about Jax in Mortal Kombat? We're not racist. You're the fucking racist because you can't figure out how to make a black character.
Clearly, it's obviously pushing DEI into it. If you're making a story that has authentic background representation in something that actually happened and makes sense, and more importantly, has an interesting story behind it, why would you not do that? It's just like face palming material. That's according to interviews with 5 current and former Ubisoft employees who spoke to GameFile.
Actually, people don't like Sergeant Johnson in the Halo series. That's not a protagonist, I guess, but he's a black guy that is very important to one of the most iconic game franchises of all time. People love Sergeant Johnson.
On the condition of anonymity, because they were not authorized to speak about the project. Ubisoft did not respond to a request for comment for this story. The people were enthusiastic about the game, but were also frustrated by its cancellation. Yeah, I would be too. Which they perceived as Ubisoft bowing to controversy. So now, this is what kills me. So now they blame the Chuds for the failure of the massive success that Shadows could have been. And now they're blaming the Chuds for canceling the game preemptively without even coming out and talking about it.
Didn't they already have a black woman protagonist in an Assassin's Creed game that people like? Which one was that? It was the Liberation? Was that the one?
I can't with this.
I don't know if anybody likes Liberation. I don't remember playing it. But I know that one exists.
These sources told GameFile that word filtered through the company, which, by the way, Sean Green says bad take smash. Why? Like, why? Tell me, why is it a bad take? Why is it a bad take? All I'm saying, it's an opinion. If an opinion clashes with you, that's fine. But all I'm saying is this story, if done right, had potential. It really did. Anyways,
they couldn't do it right. It's a problem.
GameFile that word filtered through the company last July.
They didn't know how to make it work, so they canceled it because they're retarded.
That management in Paris had stopped development of the game for 2 reasons. 1, online backlash that spring to the reveal of Yasuke, a historically inspired black samurai. He was not a samurai. We're going to go back on this. Are we really doing this again? Don't make me tap the sign, Steven. as a protagonist in the company's then upcoming Assassin's Creed Shadows, and 2, concerned that the political climate in the United States was becoming increasingly tense. What the hell is that supposed to mean? You can't play as a black person being violent because what are you implying, Ubisoft? What are you saying? Too political in a country, too unstable to make it short. One source familiar with the game and its
You mean too unstable because of leftist violent freaks?
cancellation told GameFile. Game cancellations are not unusual, sources said, but reasons such as those were. This would be Assassin's game was early. And we have a follow-up report from PC Gamer who says Ubisoft reportedly canceled Assassin's Creed game set around American Civil War because of Yasuke backlash and political turmoil. The game was meant to take place during the Reconstruction area and all the stuff we already talked about. Let's see. How they show Yasuke here? Yasuke looks very confused. He's like, what's this have to do with me?
He's also ugly.
A new GameFile report claims that Ubisoft canceled Assassin's Creed game that would have been set in the U.S. Civil War and the Reconstruction period that followed. According to GameFile sources, decision to cancel the game was made in 2024, in part because of the backlash against the reveal of the Black Samurai Yasuke in Assassin's Creed Shadows. But more
why do they capitalize black? That one's weird to me.
Over concerns about the current political climate in the US. Again, I'm trying to read between the lines on this one. I'm like, damn, isn't it funny how the people that claim that everyone else are the racists always end up being the biggest racists every single time? Isn't that funny? GameFile says it interviewed 5 and current and former Ubisoft employees.
It'll cause backlash in the US. How's that going to affect you in Paris? I think they canceled this because they were afraid to lose money from the people that they want to buy their games, but that audience doesn't exist. They're lying. They're just lying.
Who spoke about the project.
We couldn't figure a viable way to make it gay. That's probably what it was. And also they probably realized, oh shit, the KKK was Democrats.
Under anonymity. The game was apparently going to tell a story of the formerly enslaved black man who, after moving west to start a new life, recruited by the Assassin Brotherhood. Following that, he would return to the U.S. South.
Literally, all you had to do was mix Wild Wild West and Django Unchained. Like, you mix those two, put it in the game, boom, you got it.
Conflict with groups including the emerging Ku Klux Klan, the white supremacist hate group that continues to operate today. Oh, you love...
they don't even know what the Ku Klux Klan is. Because, by the way, if you dig into the research, this was not actually why the Ku Klux Klan started. It was actually to undermine the authority of Republicans in the areas that the Ku Klux Klan were trying to like take power in. That's why. And they just used anti-black people as the gateway to do that. Like, look into it.
You love the wokey journals that just gotta throw the jabs in when they can. The game was in the concept phase and years away from release when the cancellation occurred, but work was reportedly underway. GameFile sources, all either current or former employees of Ubisoft, said developers were enthusiastic about the game, which some felt had potential to make a positive social...
Yeah, Ubisoft developers were enthusiastic about the game. That means that it was woke as fuck. And it was going to cause probably the entire company to collapse because they were already collapsing and still are. Otherwise, they wouldn't have handed off Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six to a different studio.
Impact. But despite initially being approved by Ubisoft leadership, it was eventually decided that the subject matter was too controversial. I'm surprised they haven't... Oh, there it is. I was just going to say, I'm surprised.
The Trump administration. Okay.
Walk
back civil rights legislation and restore honors and memorials to the... Okay. All right, what the fuck? Whatever, man.
Up until now. And right there, holy crap, that's funny. Especially now, as the
Which fought to maintain slavery during the American Civil War? Do you not know what the Civil War was about? Because let me tell you something, slavery was like 2% of the Civil War. It's just what people latch on nowadays.
Trump administration makes moves to walk back civil rights legislation and restore honors and memorials to the Confederacy, which fought to maintain what? Like source? Why are you not linking a source to moves to walk back civil rights legislation? What are the moves? What did he do? What did he sign and put into act that walks back civil rights? What did he do?
And like, sure, at the end of it, that's what it was about slavery and being racist and all of that. The Confederacy was not formally controlled by a single political party. That's not what they'd like to tell you, though. They want to tell you that it was Republicans. While many of its leaders, including President Jefferson Davis, had backgrounds in the Democratic Party, the Confederacy officially operated without organized political parties. The political structure was designed to present a united front with the goal of establishing a new nation based on states' rights and the preservation of slavery. That's what it ended up being at the end of it, was the preservation of slavery, but that's not what it started out as. This lack of formal party organization was intentional, as many Southerners viewed political parties as corrupt and sought a revolution against politics. Instead of parties, political divisions within the Confederacy were based on factions, primarily centered around support or opposition to President Davis's leadership and policies, who was a Democrat. These factions included pro-Davis supporters, often former Democrats and fire eaters, and an anti-Davis faction composed of former Whigs and conditional unionists who opposed centralized and conscription. Like, there's no... Republicans were not here. There were no Republicans. It's all bullshit fucking lies. And they actually don't know anything about the Civil War. I know quite a bit because I studied it.
I'm just hearing crickets right now. One source said it was too political in a country too unstable to make it short.
The real reason is they didn't know how to make it work because they're retarded.
Can't help but laugh. This coming out of Ubisoft, the wokest company on the planet outside of Wizards of the Coast. It's funny coming from them. While some of the game was meant to take place during the Civil War itself, the bulk would have been set during the Reconstruction era, decade plus that immediately followed. I feel like that would have been such a banger story. It really would have been. While Reconstruction was intended
it would have been if it would have been a different studio that was doing it.
Address matters like granting citizenship to former slaves and reintegrating former Confederate states into the restored United States, process faced furious and often violent resistance from whites in the South, which ultimately undermined it. Now, I can
whites in the South who were, guess what? Democrats.
To see why they were like, maybe this isn't the best idea to put this out right now. Now I can see why. Because people, let's be honest, people would look at this and be like, what's Ubisoft trying to say about white people?
Yeah, what's Ubisoft trying to say about white people and America? You know, a French company, not an American company. This would have, I mean, I agree with them canceling this. This would have been such a bad move. But if it would have been a different company, this could have been a banger. I think somebody needs to pick up this idea and actually do it correctly.
I get it now. I get it. Fair. Here we go. Okay. Counterpoint. Reconstruction was formally ended in 1877, leading to a resurgence of white supremacy and violent repression and disenfranchisement of blacks in the American South. This guy, this Andy Chalk, loves to hate on his own skin color, apparently. It is, in other words, an intensely fraught topic in the U.S., a point during
Were Republicans pro-slavery in the Reconstruction era? No, Republicans were not pro-slavery during the Reconstruction era. In fact, they were the primary political force opposing slavery and advocating for the rights of free slaves. The Republican Party was founded in 1854 by anti-slavery activists, specifically to oppose the expansion of slavery into U.S. Territories, particularly in response to the Kansas-Nebraska Act. By the way, look into the Kansas-Nebraska Act. Crazy shit. After the Civil War, during Reconstruction, the Republican Party led efforts to abolish slavery and secure civil rights for African Americans. And they can't fucking have that, I tell you, man.
Driven home by the reaction to Yasuke. What the fuck does Yasuke have anything to do with?
Bro, the leftists, they're still at it. They're still at it. They're still at their same old bullshit racism. And they lie about it and cover it. But we all know.
US. You went out of your way to inject a black guy into feudal Japan, where he wasn't even a samurai. And you sourced a dude, Thomas Lockley, that made a bunch of shit up to sell books to push your propaganda. No one fell for it, and then you tried to blame people for it. And now you're trying to still blame people for it. Yasuke and Assassin's Creed Shadows, which was ugly, to put it mildly.
I agree. It was ugly. Assassin's Creed Shadows was ugly, but that's not what they're referring to when they say ugly.
Reaction also exposed the soft underbelly of Ubisoft leadership in response to noise from the worst corners of gamerdom. CEO Yves Guillemot said in September 2024 that our goal is not to push any specific agenda.
Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah? How about that? Fucking retarded dude.
And that its intent is simply to make games for fans and players that everyone can enjoy. Why would you go out of your way to insert Yasuke as the main protagonist in feudal Japan? A man that had less than...
Also, they made him gay.
2 pages of history as a fucking servant to Obu Nobunaga. And you made him, in all of Japan, you made him the protagonist. But don't worry. Trust me. This is a trust me, bro. From
and they could have just like straight up just made up a new character. I don't get it. Why did they do that?
Ironically, the people who actually make those games seem less reticent about standing up for themselves and their work. Andy. But they're not the ones who make the final decision about what does and does not get made. Ubisoft's self-professed apolitical bent goes back much further than Assassin's Creed Shadows. Give me a break. Despite making games that look from a distance like they might have something to say, Far Cry 5 leaps immediately to mind, but it's far from alone, Ubisoft has repeatedly insisted that it does not make political video games. But there are limits to how long you can maintain that no politics facade, and making a game about a black assassin during Reconstruction would unavoidably be way beyond them. The cancellation happened amidst a very...
I'll give them that. Ubisoft, there was no way that they were going to make this right.
Rough period for Ubisoft, which was struggling with delays, underperforming games, and sagging share price. As PC Gamer's Fraser Brown put it, 2024 was an absolutely dire year for the company. One source told GameFile that Ubisoft finances had an impact on a decision to cancel the project as well. Ubisoft was naturally more risk averse than it might have been 5 or 6 years ago when it was riding high. Does that mean we might see this game resurrected at some point in the future? Anything
I hope
is
so.
Possible.
Dude, I hope they do it. I really do. And I hope they get everything wrong.
But given how things are going right now in the US, and frankly, some of the reactions to the GameFile report I've seen on social media, I wouldn't bet on it. Oh God, here we go. So this is him. These journos are all fucking cucks, I swear. I said to this news, this is insane. Laughed my ass off. I'm like, let me have a seat. Because I already knew that this is going to be one of those divisive topics where everyone's got an opinion. Everyone's got an opinion. And apparently, according to journalists, only journalists have the right opinion. Kyle says, I was explicitly told that backlash over Yasuke and the dude who went into hiding after fabricating his story meant nothing And now you're telling me what would have been the most delicately handled game of all time was canceled because of it? Uh, George Torch, backlash over Yasuke Shadows. Wait, didn't Ubisoft tell us the game had 3 million players? Yeah, wait, hold on a second. Hold on.
Wait, yeah.
What
Oh, what?
backlash?
Oh,
Wait
it's almost like I knew they were lying.
a second. It's almost like, if you even want to say there was backlash, 3 million players. This was what, a week after the game launched or a month after the game launched, and it was still going up from there. I mean, players engaged, not actual games sold. Let's be clear about that.
Yep.
Wouldn't they say that this had a positive effect on it for all these people playing it? Don Douglas, content creators realizing they won't be fourth edition on their house. All right, that's funny. That's funny. Give credit where it's due. Mr. Obvious says, I honestly think that they realize they cannot lie about history anymore. So their plan to paint conservatives and Republicans as evil, Southern, KKK, slave owners, white supremacist, Confederate Nazi racists wasn't going to work because those were all Democrats. Oh,
Yep. As we just looked over. I mean, we did ask an AI, but why would the AI lie about that? And you can check the sources, man. You can look it up yourself. It's out there. It's so easy.
oh, right. Oh, right. Once they realize that, they're like, oh, wait, that doesn't line up politically with us. Millennium Milestone says, you mean we could have had Django Unchained for Assassin's Creed? That would have been better than a Black Samurai. God says, damn, Ubisoft really hates white people. It could have been epic. I want reparations.
Yep.
Stoic says, they just don't fucking get it. People didn't reject Shadows because it had a black protagonist. There's nothing wrong with a black assassin taking on the con. Sounds like it could have been fun if it weren't an Assassin's Creed game, because the franchise plays like shit now. No, I disagree with that. People had an issue because it was a black protagonist in feudal Japan. I strongly disagree with that. Oh man, I would have loved.
Actually, no, it wasn't even really that. It was a black protagonist based on somebody who was allegedly a person in history, and then they completely changed the character when they could have just made up a new character.
Game where he plays a black guy who stops evil Democrats instead of Shadows. Joe says, well, we saw how well that worked out for him. This is great. But yeah, that is the situation with.
Yep. Dude, absolutely fucking huge L, but a huge W for everybody talking about it, because this is hilarious. If you want to donate to my farm in the Fables Playground, I got a donation link down there in the description, or not in the, well, it's in the description, but it's also down there in the comments. Go ahead, man. I'd love you forever. Prop us up, man. We got a community going out here, and hey, maybe one day you will be allowed in our community. Just like right now, that's going to be a no. But you know, maybe someday, because that's our goal, is to bring as many people into our community as possible, like-minded, who like farm work, who like farm fresh food, and we do have like electricity and internet and stuff like that because we do things like this. See you in the next one.